Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guests are the band, all-female rock band Pins from Manchester, England. I don't get multiple guests on at the same time very often, so this is a fun one. I'm a huge fan of the band Pins. If you've been around me, you've heard me talk about them over the last couple years. They're always on my weekly playlist. And so I was really excited when they agreed to come on and talk to me. Their singer Faith had some issues with technical stuff in Zoom, and her audio kept cutting off, and then she had to jump off and jump back on. But we kept Lois, the guitar player, and Kyoko, the bass player, on the entire time, and Faith comes in and out. So it didn't go without its small problems, which, on this show, I'm always very honest about the fact that I do the best I can from a technical standpoint. And I think it makes the show more fun and interesting. Great conversation with these ladies. They're just, again, like a super killer band. And we talk to them and get to know a little bit about them as people, as well as, them as a band, which is, what I always really love about this show. People often tell me that one of the things they like about this show is the little side digressions that we go on, because it helps people get to know the person I'm talking to as a person outside of just what it is that they do, And so we get a little bit of that here. We talk about musical influences, but we also just talk about, do they live near each other in Manchester and stuff like that. So it's a great episode. I think people are really going to love it. And if you have never heard the band Pins, go check them out. Their records are available online. You can stream them in most of the places that you stream music. And, they're worth your time. They're in the last couple of years, they've been a huge, favorite of mine. So, as always, if you are watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe and click the bell, share it, comment, give us a thumbs up. If you are listening to the podcast version of this show, you can subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast content, and, give us a review if you can. That always helps. And we have a merch store now, and we're getting our t-shirts done via Warlord Clothing. You can find the links to those down in the description below. And enjoy this episode with Pins. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I am your host, Mike Fisher, as always, and today's guest is a good one for me. I have in today the band Pins from Manchester, England. And hi ladies, how are you all?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I found out about your band from the video game Gran Turismo Sport, because I do sim racing, and so your song kept coming up when I was trying to get through this one particular level of the game, and I had to keep restarting to get it to happen, and your song kept coming on, and I was like, that opening riff to Baby Bhangs is like, it's so good, and I was like, okay, and I paused the game, and I went through the menu system, went through the track list, tracked down what the song was, found it online, and listened to it, and then I was like, and then I started listening to that whole record, Wild Nights, and I was like, my God, this band rules. I got super into you guys in the last couple years. And, I'm a super huge fan. And, somebody on Twitter was like, oh, what's a band you found from, media, like video games or movies that you ended up liking outside of that? And I had tweeted you guys, you guys and Spring King were two bands from that game that I fell in love with. And you guys retweeted. I was like, shit, I guess I'll just ask them if they want to be on the show. And here we are.
Why not?
So I, of course, I'm a complete nerd about everything. And so I kind of, when I get into anything, I deep dive it big time. And so I've been over your Wikipedia page a bunch of times over the years. But tell everybody, Faith, you kind of started the band and then gathered everybody around you. Is that how that kind of started?
Yeah, pretty much. I was just trying to join a band really, but there wasn't anything inspiring going on, and there certainly wasn't anything with women. So that's why I decided to make my own band. And then obviously we've had lineup changes over the years, but we kind of settled on us three as the core members, and now we're just sort of working with any other musicians that we want to work with, and not having the official title of this is who's in the band. Like, it's all a bit more fluid and flexible.
That's awesome. That's kind of like how the Melvins, the band the Melvins works, is everybody who's ever been in the Melvins is technically still in the Melvins. They just bring people in and out depending on what they're doing, and I would love that approach to it. That's like super cool.
Maybe the Fall as well, but I guess they've got like legendary numbers of band members.
Did you
I
guys?
think they all just got fired though. They're not still in it. They're just fired.
Half of Manchester.
Did you guys tour with the Fall? Did I read that?
We played with the Fall.
Oh, okay. But you guys have toured with some really good bands.
Yeah,
been lucky.
Pretty lucky, yeah.
And you guys started like 2011-ish? Was that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been almost 10 years now. Almost 10 years.
Yeah, still going.
It's awesome. I love it. As far as, because speaking of, like, it's like whenever you look up pictures of your band, it's like they seem to have a bass player situation. It's like every picture is a different bass player. And then sometimes I see Faith with the bass. So are you playing bass at all, or do you just sometimes do it? How does that work?
No, well, when it's in pictures on stage, it's because the song we did with Iggy Pop, I played the bass on that. We opened with that song for a little bit, and our proper bass player at the time was Anna, and she was doing the vocal for that, so we just switched. So that's why sometimes I'm pictured with it, but no, it's certainly not my instrument of choice.
I've got to say as well, a lot of people just used to mix us all up. Just if we got different haircuts or when we wear different clothes, so, that could be another reason. I've been like complimented on my bass lines after gigs, and it's an instrument I've never played for the band.
Thanks for that. Yeah, close enough.
I have to suspect that is like a common thing with all female bands, right? I mean, have you heard other all female bands that have that same problem? Because I mean, people are just dismissive, I think, sometimes, unfortunately.
I think it's all bands though, maybe like male or female. Like sometimes we have a name for the male ones, don't we?
We do, because we struggle to know which man is which in a lot of bands that we tour with. So even on tour with them, even hanging out with them, we don't know who's that one. The balloon heads.
We can't give any names or anything, but we call them balloon heads. So they just look like balloons on a stick.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's I was in a band that toured quite a bit, and it's like that first 2 weeks of tour, you're like, I don't know who that person is. I see them all day, every day. And then the last European tour that I did, we toured with a band from Finland, and so it was like my friend Tony was the only one with like a regular English sounding name in the band. And so he had to, I'm an ice hockey player. I've been an ice hockey player. So he found an NHL ice hockey player from Finland who had a matching name. And he was like, okay, that one's Pekka. And that's like from Pekka Rinne, who's a goalie in NHL. So just remember Pekka Rinne. And so I had to like associate all the dudes with these hockey players. It is hilarious. Touring is fantastic, isn't it? Isn't it fantastic?
Yeah, it's the best. Missing it now?
I don't miss it at all. That was it for me. I was like, I'm not sleeping on the floor of punk squats in Germany anymore.
The smells, the sights, I know.
6 weeks of vegan food. It cooked in God knows what kind of conditions.
There's nothing wrong with vegan food, though. That's one of the perks.
Not on principle, but some of the places I've seen it cooked when I was on tour, a little suspect. Are you guys all vegans, or just you, Lois? Or are you vegan?
Well, I was vegan, but I'm a bit more open to other foods at the moment. Yeah,
I'm vegetarian.
I still
Fair.
like vegan food though. It's delicious.
Yeah, I was talking about that with another guest, where it's like there's so many vegans in the world now that the skill set for vegan cooking and the recipes and the products that can be used has raised the bar substantially in the last decade on how good vegan food is. Like sometimes, like it doesn't taste any different than, because I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I'm always doing my best though. I'm always doing my best to eat less meat. But
do you live in LA?
Yeah, Los Angeles. Yeah,
because that's got the best vegan food.
Really
that we've
good.
tried.
Yeah.
Better than here.
we have a lot of the one of the great things about LA is it's LA. It's like the second biggest city in the United States. And so we get anything you want, you can get here, like on the highest levels. It's pretty amazing.
I can't find one good burrito in the UK. I've been spoiled. Well, I went to LA. I was like, this is amazing. But yeah, I can't find one nice one in the UK, unfortunately.
Where was it we went to that vegan butcher's? I don't think it was LA though. I think it was
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. That was cracking.
That was good.
We just went and all got like all different bags of vegan meat from this vegan butcher's.
That's awesome.
And had a picnic.
Yeah,
that's awesome. When was the last time you guys were in the States?
3 years ago, maybe.
I don't know.
I want to say 2016, but it's a guess. Yeah, around then.
So you
we were
probably
supposed to be there this year.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to come over in May, but no.
Yeah, well, that sucks. Well, the next time you guys are here, well, me and my wife will be there for sure, 100%. Love your band. Love your band. As far as being a fan of your band, there was a little bit of a style change with the new record, Hot Slick, that came out this year. Was that just like a natural progression? Was it something that you guys just kind of decided we would like to kind of do something different, or was it where did that it's not huge, but it's definite?
I think it started because our drummer left, so we just didn't have a human drummer. So we started messing around with drum machines, and one thing led to another. It just became a little bit more electronic. I mean, there are real drums on the record, but, for writing the songs and to get the vibe, it was all like drum machines and samples and Logic and whatnot.
And I think we got like slightly different influences, like all of us did as well, and maybe more like just getting into more kinds of music. So yeah, it just all came together, I think.
So I kind of didn't really do a very good job in the beginning of like kind of who is who and who does what for the listeners. So Lois, you play guitar, correct?
Yeah, and some synthesizers now as well. And
Faith, you sing. We lost Faith's video or audio.
Audio, yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
You're back.
Not unplugged.
Well,
I can't hear.
No. No, you're not back.
Oh.
We lost Faith.
Maybe it will come back.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe she.
Maybe you could leave and come back in.
Yeah, maybe, huh?
This is what I do at work, getting people's audio to work on Skype calls.
I always get this little cheat sheet from everybody. Lois, you're working on, you're like studying your university or?
Yeah, I'm doing a master's.
Okay. For what is it that you do?
Electronic and computer music is what it's in.
Oh, that's cool.
The course is on a bit of a break at the moment though because of the pandemic. It's not running this year. It's on hold, so I'll start again in September. But it's an interest I have anyway, so I'll just keep working away on it.
And then Kyoko, you are studying to be a teacher?
I'm doing the course, but just so I have it really, and because I've got time to do it. But I'll probably use it in some capacity. Yeah, I'm studying to become a teacher. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! My wife's mother is a teacher, and I have a lot of friends I grew up with who are teachers, and I have a very great regard for anybody who can sit in a class full of children for that long, for that many kids for that long.
For sure.
Who knows what will happen though? I think
they're going to be really cute though. It's primary, isn't it? So
yeah, they're very young, very young.
Just be like super cute.
Yeah, I'll just bribe them with sweets.
I don't know if you can do that.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You're going to get yourself in trouble before you've even started.
Yeah.
Did we get Faith back yet?
I don't know.
I can't hear her.
Did you?
Oh, she popped out. Let's see if she pops back in.
Yeah.
Let's see if I have to let her back in. Okay. Admit. We're like on the fly. For anybody listening, one of the things about this show that people seem to love very much is that I'm always very honest, even when I'm like making mistakes. And so I totally screwed up the time difference between Los Angeles and Manchester. And so I thought I was supposed to be on at 10, and at 9 they're like, "Hey, dude, where are you?" And I like scrambling around to like get it all together. So it's a little less professional than it usually is, and it's not ever very professional.
I can't hear Faith.
I
No.
can't
don't
hear
have
her.
you.
No, that sucks. Yeah, I don't
feel
know.
like-
No, I don't
What's
like it.
happened? We just don't know whose end it's on either, do we?
Yeah, I'm guessing if all of us can hear each other but her, it's got to be on her
I
end.
think it'll be on Faith's end.
Yeah,
It's weird. It just went off
we got to
halfway
get Lois
through,
on
though.
this. Like, Lois, you're the one who knows how to do this. Figure it out.
I'll be honest, I do the old classic IT routine of asking people to log out and log back in, and then usually it works, and now I'm stumped because it's not.
Try turning it off and turning it back on.
You could check your audio preferences. Check that. I mean, I don't know why it would have defected halfway through.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's something's going on her end.
Lois, you look very gamery, doesn't she, Mike? With the background and the headset.
Yeah.
Well, I have been playing a bit of games in lockdown. Not much, but I've been playing a game called Cuphead.
Oh,
Cuphead.
yeah, that game's so hard.
It's really hard, but can I say it is thrilling visually, and I can't get enough of it. But it's super difficult, and I've been playing it with my housemate, and I'm glad we've been playing it together because he can.
Oh yeah, no, Faith, we can hear you now.
Levels when I can.
You can hear that?
Yes.
So weird.
We
I
got
just
Faith back.
did something to the microphone, and I don't know what. I don't know.
Yeah, that Cuphead game, the art style is maybe... I was an art director in video games for like 15 years. And so it's the coolest looking game that's ever been made.
Yeah, I saw it. It's just all like the mad baddies, and like there's a few levels that are just overwhelming.
It looks like a
overwhelming,
It looks like a 1920s animated cartoon, like an old black and white Disney cartoon or something. It's fantastic. That game is so hard.
really creative. They have like, sunflowers that stick their tongue out and kill you, and I don't know. It's mad, isn't it? But I think I saw like a teaser for it and was like, let's get that. I want to play that. I'm no expert, but let's give that one a go.
Yeah, I'm like the person who works at the candy factory who stops eating candy after the first couple years. Like, I didn't play games for like a decade when I was in and then out of the game industry. I left about 10 years ago to just do freelance illustration and design work. I do my
How have you had so many jobs?
I'm old.
You don't seem old enough to have all of these different jobs.
Oh, I have kids that are your guys' age.
No,
Wow.
you don't. They're not my age. They're not my age.
I was going to say, no, you don't.
My kids are 30, 28, and 26.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
wow.
Yeah, I had them.
No
I had all
way.
three when I was very young. Like all three of them before I was 25. So that's how I ended up in a band. I was in a band when I was a teenager that had just gotten to the point, like 80s thrash metal band that had just gotten to the point where we were talking to record labels, and then I had my first kid, and I had to go work, and so after my kids were all adults, like once my middle one turned 18 and my daughter was living with her mother full time, I was able to kind of quit working at that video game job. And then all my friends, I design merchandise for bands, shirts, album covers, stuff like that. It was always been like my side hustle. And I decided to make it my full-time hustle. But over the course of the years, I ended up with a ton of friends from like different like grind and death metal bands. And they all decided that they wanted to start like a kind of a crust punk band. And they're like, you should sing. And I was like, okay. And they were all like famous dudes from these other bands. And we did a demo and we had a record deal. Like we had a record deal before we even tried to do anything, because all of those guys had deals on other bigger death metal labels and metal labels.
What bands do you do the merch designs for?
Oh, everybody from Paul McCartney to, Swedish grind bands, like everybody. I've done stuff for Lionel Richie, Led Zeppelin.
Wow. That's cool.
I do a lot of stuff for country bands. I don't care for country music. It's kind of famously hilarious thing about my career that I don't like country music really at all. And every single design I do for country bands, it gets put into production. Like I can't lose.
I guess like country now is a bit tacky, isn't it? But Patsy Cline and stuff, that's great stuff.
Yeah, there's some great country tracks.
Yeah.
But it's a broad genre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you might hear on the radio is not going to be.
Yeah, I don't imagine. Yeah.
But there's like in the States right now, there's a huge wave of, I wouldn't say huge. There is a wave of like indie country artists that are in that old style of Cash and, Dolly Parton and Waylon Jennings and all that. And a friend of mine named Connie, who I have to shout out on this show like all the time, has a record label, and she signed a bunch of these bands like Coulter Wall and Vincent Neil Emerson, and I actually really do like them. Actually, this patch was designed by Connie. Cool. It's like a little stereo patch. But yeah, she's awesome. She's like a full, like all female run record label and management company. And she's like in Nashville and out in Nashville. And she handles like all these new country stars that are really great. And, so you guys, speaking kind of in the same vein, like your new record is kind of on your own label. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And are you guys still working with Bella Union, or is this like you're just going to do your own self-publishing from now, or?
Yeah, we just did our first 2 albums with Bella Union, and then we self-released our first ever bits and bobs, singles and EP, and just sort of wanted to go back to having that sense of control, I think, and sort of doing it ourselves. So we did.
Yeah.
We had like a distribution deal with Cargo Records and a publishing deal with Just Isn't Music. So it was just the actual record deal, and that's the bit. I don't know. It was somewhere between having more creative control and I don't know if they're just becoming a bit obsolete. I don't mean that personally to Bella Union, but just record labels in general. It just seems like people are trying to do it a different way.
Yeah, it seems like if you are a particular kind of artist, like if you're like Beyonce, or if you're, you know, like one of those mega huge stars, the major label system still works because it's just such a huge machine that you need that huge machine. But for anybody making their music, anything like, you know, not on that mega star level, you don't really need the label system anymore. You're right about that. Like I think that one of the things this show is always about is DIY stuff. Like the DIY spirit is like all of my guests like embody that, whether I even realize it when I book them or not. So for you to bring up that do-it-yourself thing where you guys just want to do it yourself, that like fits really well in with this show, and that's awesome. That was an awesome tie-in. Well done. So we were talking about a little bit about how there was a little bit of shift in when Faith was lost.
I'm scared that I'm going to go off again. Keep watching it, see if I'm lit up.
We were talking a little bit about how like it kind of just ended up being a little bit more electronic sounding, but there's still a lot of Lois in there with the guitar stuff, which makes it there. It seems like a lot of electronic based music leaves the guitar work out, and so it's got a cool edge to it because it's definitely more clubby, but it still has the guitar like rock feel to it. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I guess in terms of like the inspiration, we still were going back to like Bowie and Prince as references, alongside like Suicide, and even more modern people like St. Vincent. So it wasn't, or at least from my perspective, it wasn't like, oh, let's make a dance record. It was like still, you know, I still thought that we were on a Prince kick, but then when it came out at the end, it was a lot more like, it's kind of like more modern, I guess, than we'd anticipated. But that was also working with a producer that we hadn't worked with before. It was a completely different experience to any kind of recording we've done before, because we've always been very much in control of most of it. Even when people are like trying to help us, we're like, no, I want to do it this way, I want to do it this way. But this time we handed a lot of it over to this guy Rich, who did all the producing on it. Well, most of the producing on it, should I say. So yeah, I think a lot of it was like down to him too, and just having that relationship with a producer.
A good producer is, you know, I was talking the guest that's on this coming week, which is like beginning of December, is a singer-songwriter kind of pop singer named Madeline Rosine, and we were talking about producers, and she was like, we were talking about the value of a good producer, and yeah, it's important. It's important if a producer is going to be at their best. It's important that they can bring out of you things you didn't know were there, or out of the songs that you didn't know were there. And I think sometimes that's where it is kind of, the value is in passing it off to a producer, is maybe that's what you end up getting out of it instead of producing it yourself. But it works either way, you know, it can work either way.
We did some, we did some of the tracks with Dean Honer as well, over in Sheffield. And I found that pretty, like, that same, he has lots of synths and electronic stuff to play with, and I found that really exciting. And like you're saying, sort of bringing out another side of you, just getting to play with some of those things and explore those ideas, I found was really cool.
Kyoko, are you drums? I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. I'm bass.
Okay, so now
yeah.
you're your bass now.
I'm bass. I'm one of the many. Yeah.
Of course,
She
to
was
bring it
playing
back around.
keyboards before, though, so
Okay,
it is confusing.
I was going to say I used to play keys, but I didn't want to confuse matters. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kyoko. I had totally not, that's like in all of my notes, I had not written down what everybody does. And so now I'm embarrassed for myself.
Don't be embarrassed.
For not
Don't
knowing
be
that. So you are the current bass player.
I am, yeah.
Oh, excellent. How long have you been along? But were you in the band as a keyboard player before? Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So about 5 years. 5 years? Yeah, 5 years. And I joined and I was on the keyboards and some extra percussion and backing vocals, really. And then made the switch to playing bass.
Okay. Okay, so now you currently don't have a drummer then?
But our friend Abby, she is a session musician, but she is our go-to girl. So, she's always first choice if she's available.
Which always is.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
That's excellent. Yeah, one of the things that Wild Nights is my favorite record from you guys for sure. And one of the things that I love about it is that it kind of wears its influences on its sleeve in the best way. It's got there's a lot of Jesus and Mary Chain. There's a lot of, 90s, I wouldn't say grunge rock, but kind of like a lot of 90s rock feel to it. And just the songs seem to be about that favorite part of everybody's life when you're kind of young and just running it super hot, and so I really like that record a lot. It gets played. Every single week I make a Spotify playlist of whatever it is I was listening to in the art studio during the weekend. You guys are on my playlist all the time. Anybody subscribe is probably oh, Pins again. It's always the Misfits, the Helicopters, and Pins are
We were almost in a bit of a psyche phase as well, I think, when we were doing that record.
Yeah, we thought that it was really 60s sounding, but it just probably isn't. It's you think that you're doing something that you're not.
Well, I think that for sure it is in the same way that a lot of those bands were inspired by 60s bands. You know what I mean? It keeps kicking down the line because there's a lot of Bowie stuff in all of your guys' stuff. There seems to be a lot of influence from David Bowie. Even on the difference between all three records still seems to have because that was what Bowie's thing was, right? Was it was always every record was kind of different. And it all still sounded like Bowie. And I think that you guys have that same thing for sure.
Oh, well, there we go. Made it.
Anybody who listens to this show knows that I really hate comparing any band to any artist to any other artist. Because it's but sometimes, you can see the influences, even if it isn't a direct sound thing. It's you can see where inspiration comes from, whether it's a visual artist or a musician or, an author or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point. It's good to have a reference point and it's good to hear influences. I think people enjoy hearing your influences, but I do get what you mean about not wanting to compare too much, but I don't mind a little bit of comparison. That's okay. It's good to, it's just a reference point.
Especially when it's good ones like that.
Yeah, Bowie.
Keep them coming.
My wife absolutely loves David Bowie. He's not one of my top guys. He has probably a half a dozen songs that I absolutely love, and then he's just not someone that I don't not like him, but I absolutely. I am one of those people because I have been a creative professional pretty much my entire life. I mean, since I started getting paid to make art when I was in my teens for bands and stuff. So I can appreciate and love other art that I don't necessarily love all of. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not really a big Beatles person either, but I know what the Beatles mean to the world. You know what I mean? Like I would never, because I don't love all of their songs, I would never try to downplay the importance of the Beatles, because that would be stupid. You know, I like noisy music, so I like the Stones more than I like the Beatles.
You both can only like one or the other, so apparently.
No, my dad, he likes them both, but he's definitely more of a Rolling Stones guy. They seem a little bit more dangerous. We're danger guys, I guess. Which was funny, because it made, when I started getting into punk rock in the 80s, like my mom was like horrified. And then my dad, like, there were bands that my dad would pop his head into my bedroom and be like, "Oh, that's not bad." Like I can hear it. I can hear it. You know what I mean? My dad's like a rock and roll guy.
That's great to be able to share like musical taste with your parents. I don't think I had that experience.
I got my mum into System of a Down.
Did you?
Love System of a Down. She's mad for it, yeah.
That's
I remember
amazing.
getting really told off for playing The Offspring really loud. But it was, there's some bad language in there.
I got told off for playing. I got told off for showing the Marshall Mathers LP to the Christian children who lived on the other side. They told their parents that Kyoko showed me the Eminem album that had lots of swear words on it, and I got in massive trouble.
That's amazing. Another one. I'm not a super huge Eminem fan, or Offspring fan for that matter. But actually, the singer that I was talking to, Madeline Rosine, we had this conversation about like the Offspring and Blink, and there's like, and we kind of came to the agreement maybe that it's an age thing. And I grew up on Black Flag and the Misfits, and you know, people who were like in their 30s and early 40s now kind of. There was like that wave of like pop punk bands where like it was almost like every song was like a joke. It was like and that wasn't my experience with punk rock. So I was like, what are you guys doing? But like, you know, my kids listened to all that stuff, so I heard all of it, and I don't like it. It's just, you know, I'm old.
Now that I'm older and I listen and I hear the lyrics of like Blink-182 songs, I'm like, well, that's very childish, isn't it?
I was obsessed with like NoFX, and I think I have nearly all of their records now. I started being like, I'm gonna collect all of their records. This was a while ago, but they just started releasing like a single a month or something like that on vinyl with different covers, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. But I was literally going through my records the other day, and I was like, how many NoFX albums do I have? I might have all of them.
Do you have? The only NoFX record I have is their very first 7-inch. I guess it's super. Oh. I guess it's super rare. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I have
a lot of stuff like that.
I think is one of the earliest ones. I've got that, but it's on a 12-inch, and it's not an original pressing or anything like that.
Oh yeah, mine's like an original pressing with like the photocopied cover and the
whole. What's it called? Nine. Is it like? I'm trying to think what their singles were. It's like there's one called 6-Pack Girls or something. That's what I was thinking of when you're like, all the songs are a joke. Some of their really early songs.
They are that.
A bit borderline for me.
I have to pull it out. It's one of those records. I'm not even sure how it came up, how it ended up in my collection, but yeah, I have some good stuff from the 80s that is extremely valuable. Like I have like every Discharge record on a first pressing that.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I have some first pressing Misfits stuff, like, and that wasn't even stuff I collected later. It's stuff I just still have, Yeah. I always say.
Do you still listen to it, or are you just holding on to it and seeing where you get?
No record player at the moment.
This is cool. I'm just at my parents' house and dug this one out.
Oh, nice. Oh. Excellent.
Live
More Bowie.
There's a lot of. My dad has passed away now. These are all.
That
looks
old dangerously records, near to a radiator.
It's not on. So, but there's like there's all sorts of stuff in here that you're just like, maybe this is where I got my musical taste from. Blondie records, like original ones and everything. gonna have to go through them. I just noticed them out the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
Like, surely if I'm going to inherit something, then that's the thing
one
for me. Yeah, there's also a lot of Pins records here too. Yeah,
You gotta love
Thing
when
and the Hot Slick.
you gotta love when your parents have your stuff. You know, my mom listens to this show, and so I've been trying to keep my swearing to a minimum. Like at first I wasn't minding it at all, and then my mom was like, "I've been listening," and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I better." And then I had the guitar player from my last band on, Leon, and he's in like all these death metal bands, like Exhumed and Impaled, and like, and we were talking tour stories, and like I literally at the beginning of the episode, I was like, "My mom." If you're listening, you need to turn this off. There's nothing for you here but swearing and alcohol stories. Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Sorry. I switched my headphones around because I thought, what if I'm nearly deaf in one ear, but that headphone is not working as well as that one. I thought my hearing was gone.
That's
I'm sure
hilarious.
it is a constant fear that you've now deafened from the show before.
No, yeah.
Do you guys all live near each other in Manchester?
Faith used to live near us, but yeah, we all
used to live within walking distance, but then I moved. So,
and
we live where. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
We live where Marky Smith lived before he passed away. That sort of area of Manchester. But lots of our friends sort of moving in and stuff. It's I really like it. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, we have Abby, who we were talking about before, who plays the drums with us. She lives like a few minutes away, really. And Toe, one of our singers, lives around the corner between me and Kyoko.
Literally 4 minutes walk from me. Stuff's very close together in England, though, you see, Mike. It's not far away like it is in LA.
I know.
Yeah.
and we were down like right in the middle of it for like probably 10 years, and we just bought a house out here. Like we're out in the suburbs now, so it's like 25 miles but 2-hour drive down to all the fun stuff. But like I was I wanted to build like a proper art studio, not knowing it was going to turn into half of it was going to turn into a podcast studio.
Wow.
But yeah, like, so we moved out here to the suburbs because it's like house is like half as much as it is down in LA for like, and it's like 3 times bigger for half the money. And my kids all live out here. 2 of my 3 children live like within 2 miles of me now. So that's good. I get to see them all the time, except for now. Just the last 6 months. My daughter works at a COVID testing center, so I'm like constantly concerned. I'm like, but I got to see her on Thanksgiving a couple weeks ago. We did like a little mask up, Thanksgiving thing. So, if Faith, do you have a child or children?
I've got one who's downstairs and one on the way.
Oh wow. That's awesome. When I was get the cheat sheet from you guys, you're like, oh yeah, I'm a mom as much as I'm a musician now,
Yeah, well, she's only 16 months old.
Oh wow.
So it's still kind of new, still all new, and still this one's coming in January, so fast mover.
Yeah, that's how I did it. Once I had one, I was like, if we're gonna have more, let's just get it over with.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's made this year a lot better. Like everyone else has been complaining about how miserable it is, but I'm like, well, it's been pretty exciting for me, and then it's going to be hopefully a nice start to 2021. And we can't tour or anything anyway, so
yeah, probably perfect. Yeah, probably perfect because that would be hard, touring when you have little ones, for sure.
Yeah, we did a little bit before lockdown. I think it was February. We had a short tour, and I didn't take my daughter with me, but we weren't away for like an extensive amount of time. It was just a few nights here and there because most of the time we were able to drive home. But even that, it's like I couldn't imagine when people just go off for months and months at a time. Like not for me. No way.
Yeah, and then we kind of talked a little bit about while you were sorting out your audio, everybody talked a little bit about other stuff they have going on, and you are a photographer as well, right? Like by profession.
Yeah, well, that's what I did my degree in, and then got a job doing that. But then the music just kind of, I ended up like doing the photography the most, and then the music crept in, and then that started to outweigh the photography. And then at the moment, yeah, it's just music.
That's awesome. I'm happy about that because I get King's records. And so I guess, I've talked to a lot of musicians over the last 6 months doing this show about like, their kind of the quarantine era, like the quarantine year. Like, did you guys have everything for Hot Slick written before lockdown?
Yeah.
And then, so you just was it recorded before, or did you record it during this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you guys been writing a new record yet? Or are you just...
Yeah, well,
because I know everybody's got all kinds of time, and all my musician friends are like, yeah, I wrote like 3 records in the last 6 months.
We've done something that we're hoping is going to come out next year, without giving away too much. Something related to Hot Slick, should we say. Just a little special edition thing that hopefully will be coming out next year. But aside from that, yeah, just writing. It's kind of like aimlessly writing, because I don't know what it's for at the moment. You're just writing and writing and writing. And
do you guys all write stuff and then get together and there's songs from this person and songs from that person, or is it all parts? Like how every band kind of handles that all different.
Well, I think for Hot Slick, sometimes there's a 3, sometimes just Faith, or sometimes me and Faith, or sometimes Faith and Lois. Just sort of mix it all up, really.
Yeah, just as and when, and what works, I guess.
All right. Yeah. In my last band, it was all just riffs because it was like kind of, metally punk stuff. And it was like everybody just brought their riffs and dumped them in the middle of the room and it got sorted out from there.
Bring back riffs.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. Like like I was saying, like, Wild Nights is like, it's like Riff City. There's a lot of stuff in there.
We did Wild Nights out in Joshua Tree. We recorded it out there.
I seem to remember reading that.
I'm just wondering if you're just like on the same wavelength because you're not like that far away from there, are you? Just like, I like that one. It's kind of...
Well, we're not too far.
Yeah,
We're not too far. And I listen to a lot of like stoner metal. And that's like the birthplace. That's where it kind of came from. Bands like Caius and, bands like that desert rock sound.
Yeah, we recorded it at Rancho de la Luna as well. So
yeah, that's
maybe
amazing.
there's a bit of that influence on there. Who knows?
That might explain a little bit why I love that record so much. Yeah. But you guys have a lot of really good, like kind of stoner doom metal bands in England, man. You guys got on the come up pretty quick over there, like Orange Goblin and bands like that.
I don't know. I don't know much about it.
What was that?
Is that who you would recommend? We were just saying we're not experts on that personally, but stoner metal. Would you say Orange Goblin?
Who would you recommend?
Orange Goblin.
I wouldn't necessarily. My favorite band that is probably in that genre that I don't necessarily think of that way is the band High on Fire, and they are my favorite band of all time. Like so over the last, go way back with them, friends when we were kids, and then they ended up being like the best heavy metal band ever. They won the Grammy not this year but last year for their record Electric Messiah. And so to see like people that I grew up with from when we were teenagers win a Grammy for best metal band, that was insanity for me. And Those dudes are rad. And I do a lot of art t-shirt work for them. And so if you want to listen to a heavy metal band on my recommendation, that's going to be the first one. But English, Orange Goblin's probably my favorite of the British stoner doom
High
bands.
on Fire for American, Orange Goblin for British.
High on Fire just for like
everything.
Yeah. And if you get a chance, like one of my wife's best friends is a music photographer, and she handles like indie rock stuff. She's not in by any stretch of the imagination like a metal person. And she's actually been a guest on. Her name is Piper Ferguson. Shout out Piper Ferguson. And she was at a festival and managed to shoot High on Fire, who she'd never even heard of. And she like immediately called my wife and was like, "Does your husband listen to that band High on Fire? Because if he doesn't, she should, because that's like the goddamn best heavy metal band I've ever seen." So like live, like even my wife, she's very kind, and we go every year in Las Vegas. They have a festival called Psycho Las Vegas, and it's just kind of all kind of doom stoner metal bands. Actually that's not true. It used to be, and now it's all different types of bands. Like a lot of like, I don't know if you listen too much of like dark wave. There's like this new huge massive amount of like dark wave bands. It's like gothy electronic stuff.
That sounds great. I don't know dark wave, but that sounds fantastic
it's
to me.
there's like a band called Soft Kill that my wife is in love with, and like Cold Cave and bands like that. But then
like kind of like Tempers and stuff, that kind of like 80s-y sounding kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally like that. And like, and also the thing that seems to, in the same way that I found you guys on Gran Turismo, I also came across that band Vant, who are totally awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we played with them at a festival.
It was Reading and Leeds.
It was Reading and Leeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And similar arc musically, because his new record is a lot more electronic clubby than it is.
Yeah, he's
rock
kind
too.
of gone off on his own, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's like the rest of the band don't appear to be there. But our tour manager, Ost, is his tour manager also. So that's how I bumped into them in the street. It was a while ago.
So they're Manchester too.
No, they were just playing a show.
Oh, okay.
They were going to a hotel, and I was just walking home, and I bumped into them there. But the rest of the band members weren't there, so I thought, oh, something's happened. What's
happened here?
And then like Spring King is another band that I love from that. But then there's like bands like Shame, I love a lot. We got to see them at the Punk Rock Bowling and Music Festival the spring ago before the lockdown, and they absolutely slayed. They were so good, and there's like it seems like England's having a little bit of a resurgence of bands like that you guys kind of fit into that same sort of like, hate to use the word post-punk because I hate putting post on the front of anything, like post-metal or post-punk and stuff. But
I love post-punk though, if it makes you feel any better, so don't worry about that. I have a feeling that Spring King played the same Reading and Leeds as Vant and us, because or at least I think so, because I remember seeing them and they were so good. Everyone was going mad.
And Liam Gallagher headlined. It was amazing.
And Liam Gallagher, yeah.
Well, Spring King have gone as well now, haven't they?
Yeah, that's
they
disappointing. It's disappointing because that means they won't come to the States and I'll never get to see them, and that sucks. Because I listened to that record as my Spotify puts out like your year in wrap up, and like the first 10 songs were that Spring King record. And they made fantastic videos. Their videos were hilarious too. But the big one for me right now that you guys gave me is fucking Idols.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
great.
There we go.
Everybody's loving
Well,
idols, aren't they?
you guys are representing England right now. So
Our nation.
I'm in love with that band. And my like I said, my wife's out of town, and so before the night she left, like we were just, she was going to bed early before she had to get up to catch her flight, and I was like, not enough time to watch a whole show, so I just went on YouTube and I started like playing idols videos, and she's like, this band is insane. This is like the best band I've heard in a long time. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I was wondering, I mean, are you into, because I like them, from your music taste, I'm wondering, are you into pigs?
I think I've heard them, but I couldn't make any kind of educated comment on them. But I feel like somebody I know just did artwork for them. I think I saw something on social media that was like, oh, I just did this cover, like it's like a 7-inch cover or a shirt or something for that band. So now they've entered my consciousness twice in like the last 48 hours. So now I got to go check them out.
Go check them out. I think you'll like them.
Yeah.
I think you'll
What
like
about
them.
girl band as well? Repping.
I don't know.
You've got to listen to them. You've got to. They're like post-punk, but modern, and then with some sort of techno-y sounds, but all played acoustically. And I just think they're brilliant.
All right, they're
from,
on the list.
Dublin. Yeah.
If recommendations are coming from you guys, I am going to trust them because you make music that I love. So, Lois, you have another band, right? Called Grave Goods?
Yeah, like another project to work on. Yeah, that's a more post-punk there as well, I think.
Okay.
And it's with a friend of mine who's in Dublin, Sarah. She plays the drums, and then another friend of mine called Phil, who's in Belfast, who's on bass. So it's completely impossible for us to practice or do anything at the moment. We're in 3 different countries.
Can't do Zoom practices.
No, it doesn't work.
Us 3 tried Zoom practices, and there's a delay, and it's
there's a sync issue, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's hopeless.
Yeah, it's just awkward.
And Kyoko, you have a side project too, yeah? You have another band that you play in, right?
Yep, I have a band with my friend Daniel Broomhall, who lives with Lois, actually, housemates. He and I are in an dark electronic dream pop band called Kyogen.
All right. I'm going to have so much stuff to listen to this afternoon.
So we should do it.
You really confused me then. I forgot it was the morning when you're like, this afternoon. I was like, it's just pitch black.
It's like 10:21 a.m. for me right now.
You've got the whole day ahead of you. I'm jealous.
I do. I have so much work to do. I record. I'm from my time in video games, I have a work ethic that's like super efficient. And so one of the things that I do when I do this podcast is I'll record tons of guests in a clump. So like I'll do 2 guests a day for like a month, and then get like 3 months worth of episodes done and recorded. And so I'm kind of at the end of that. So I'm going into editing mode here this week. And so, yeah, I've got a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the time, but I just thought then with your video game stuff, did you ever do any like AI video game work or?
No, it was kind of that I left the industry in 2010. And so it wasn't really a thing quite yet.
Yeah.
I had some friends who were at a company who were working with Sony on these headsets that would allow you to control the game with your brain waves. And they worked on that for a long time. And you know what's funny is it's now actually a thing. Like it's actually a thing where you'll be able to kind of think.
No, get out of my brain. No, not having that.
Yeah. And so that's actually becoming a technology now. But yeah, like the only AI that I wasn't a coder, so I definitely didn't get involved in any of that kind of stuff. But, every game for a long time has had AI just from like, non-player characters that have to.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? I saw an exhibition down in London. There was like someone who'd invented, it was like a never-ending it was like a video basically of these non-player characters that evolved on their own. So like the work was about just them doing their thing in this virtual world and seeing where it ended up in like 2 years or what they were doing in 10 years or whatever. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Crazy. Yeah. AI for every single human on Earth is going to make everything more interesting one way or another in the next 20 years, whether we like it or not. I think Elon Musk is like one of the biggest alarm sounders. He's like, I don't know if this is going to go the way we want it to.
I read he's like scared about, we don't have an off switch for AI. And I thought, if he's scared about it, then should we not all be pretty scared about it as well?
Yeah. Probably something to think about at the minimum. But he's one of those people who like, I thought he was like some super awesome dude, and then it turns out he's just a regular person like the rest of us, and he's got flaws. He has some odd ideas about things in the current age, but what are you gonna do? I mean, if you're a billionaire, I guess you kind of gonna make it.
At least he's giving it a go, and he's trying new things out. We see what's out there.
The Hyperloop, man, I'm excited about that. I mean, they're actually Richard Branson, who I worked for in the video game industry. He's trying to build a Hyperloop train from LA to Vegas as like one of the first commercial Hyperloop. Are you guys familiar with the Hyperloop?
I'm not.
It's like the tube. So it's a I don't know if you guys have this technology in England from the 60s.
Probably
where
not.
You go
Probably
to
not.
where
Have you
like
seen our roads?
it's not technology. It's like in a lot in the 60s and 70s there was like these air tubes in like banks, and they'd put like money in the tube and it'd go
They used to have them in London for people.
That sounds terrifying.
No, that's how it's like I saw it on QI. I know, nerd, but it was either like they used to send posts like that, but when people were drunk, they used to get in them and send themselves up these tubes.
What was that cartoon that wasn't the Flintstones but the space version? The
Jetsons.
Didn't they have that as well?
Yes.
They had that.
It is the same thing.
The Jetsons.
Yeah, so the Hyperloop is kind of like that in that it's like it is a decompressed air tube, and then the train car sits inside of it, and it hovers just above the track between two magnets. So
I'll say it again.
frictionless.
Oh no, not for me. Not for me.
How fast does it go? That's what I want to know.
Oh, no.
Fast.
It's fast, isn't it?
Yeah, they're saying that a trip from an 8-hour flight is like an hour in the Hyperloop. So it goes like. I mean, there's a metric conversion that I can't make because I'm a dumb American and I never learned the metric system. But American miles an hour, it's like 800 miles an hour.
I'm glad I'll be there before.
So fast. It'll
be faster than a plane.
Hours,
it will be faster than a plane.
What's the train in Japan?
The
Coco, that one's fast. Not that fast, but I've been on that and it made me feel really sick.
Bullet train.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, the bullet train.
Bullet train. That's
the name for it.
Well, what's the rush?
What's the rush?
Everyone trying to get to so fast? Just chill out.
Gotta get there.
Yeah.
Read a book. Enjoy yourself.
Well,
That's why I was saying I'm glad I'm going to be dead before it's too much the future.
Before you have to be everywhere like instantly.
Oh, now there's a quote. I'm glad I'll be dead before it's too much of the future. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm always like looking for little every week I make like a little audio clip that I use to promote the episode, and I'm probably gonna just use that.
That's gonna be you, Kyoko.
I'm glad I'll be dead towards the future. I stand by it.
I might make shirts of that.
Yes.
Oh. So as far as we kind of got off track, which is what my people always say.
It's gone again.
Oh no. People always say, oh no. Oh no. People always say that the thing they love about this show is that it like wanders like that. It wanders off topic a lot, and people are like, oh, I like all the little sidebars you get. But to go back a little bit to I I think I don't know, maybe she had to go.
I think she might pop back. She might be trying to rejoin. We'll see.
But to kind of speak to what we were talking about before, like, what do you guys have coming up? You know, what does Pins have coming up aside from touring, of course?
I was going to say we did have a tour, but obviously that's been rescheduled for next year. Still looking forward to it. So I'm just getting some power. And something that Faith mentioned earlier that's related to our last album, but is still a secret at this point.
Oh, okay. Are you guys coming to the States when you tour?
Really hope so. Like I said, we're supposed to be coming in May, and it was sort of, it was right up to the last minute where we're like, will we be able to go? Will we be able to? And then, no, it wasn't possible, unfortunately. Our friends, the Oriels, were over there. I feel really bad for them. They were over there, just started their tour, and they had to come home. Which is gutting, isn't it? Yeah, but I would hope we'll be back in the States as soon as possible. We had so much fun touring there last time.
Yeah,
Faith has said she had to go anyway, though. Tell Mike sorry, because she just had to get her daughter home to bed.
Yeah, of course. That's, you know, that's totally, tell her that's totally fine. And that, thank you for coming on.
Worries.
But, you know, we're kind of in the wrap up zone anyway. So, and, you know, I like I said, like this was like a super special episode for me because I'm such a huge fan, and you know, I'm like, the show is getting to the point now. It's like how fast this podcast is growing is like kind of terrifying me, and so I'm at I've only asked a couple people who I got no's from, and they were. One of them was like one of the biggest rap stars in the history of rap music, and I did shirts for him, and so I asked, because I had his email, and I thought it'd be, it's always no if you don't ask. So I asked, and that wasn't.
Well, that's how we ended up doing that track with Iggy Pop. So you've got to just give it a go, haven't you, and see what happens. Yeah,
but everybody else that I've gotten no's from was just because they're like, I just think I'd be terrible at it, being on camera, or like I'll freeze up. And so everybody I ask has been saying yes. And so I've just been like going on a tear of like, well, I'll just ask everybody I actually really want to talk to, which is everybody on this show. But getting a yes from you guys was like huge, was like a huge one for me. I actually my wife was like, oh my God, you must be excited. And I was like,
that's lovely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And the Iggy Pop thing, was that really just one of those things where you're like, shit, let's just ask him?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've just been recording in Scotland in we just rented a house just to go away and sort of do a bit of writing, but we ended up recording the EP, Bad Thing, and we were like, oh, who could we get to do? So we'd done we'd recorded a track that Faith's husband had done like a vocal for, the poem for, and we were like, who could we ask to like reinterpret this? And everyone's top answer was like, well, Iggy Pop, obviously. So we were like making a list, going down the list, and we're like, right, we'll just start at the top and see how it goes. But it went well. So
that was we had to.
We're lucky enough to. No, it's all right. We were lucky enough to work with him on that.
Well, we had to keep it quiet after he first said yes, because obviously you don't go blabbing. It was the hardest secret I've ever had to keep in my life. I was like this all the time. Constantly.
Plus we were kind of nervous it wouldn't happen. We were like, don't get excited till
don't tell anyone.
The audio is saved to someone's computer.
Yeah, I get that when I'm designing merchandise and stuff. I'm working I'm working on something for some like huge band. Like I'm doing shirts for like Led Zeppelin, and I'm like, I can't tell anybody until they're released. So like sometimes it'd be like 6 months where I'm like, I have to just sit on this, and like I am a huge AC/DC fan, like from pre Brian Johnson era, like the first, Bon Scott era stuff. And I got to do AC/DC shirts, and I was like, oh, because that was like the band that pretty much set my path for music taste, is that like when I heard AC/DC, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Like, you know, like I liked all the stuff that my dad listened to, like the Stones and the Who and all of that kind of stuff. But once I heard AC/DC, I was like, oh, this is my band. And I got super into it. And so that, I think, is another reason why it was a very short trip from AC/DC to, you know, hardcore punk. It was a very short trip. Because I got into punk rock when I was like 11 or 12. And you know, there was like a college radio show I grew up in the San Francisco area, and like every 4 hours every Thursday from like 8 until midnight was just, this guy just played hardcore records from all over the world. And I would record it every week. And so I had like, just like a wall of recorded cassette tapes. And do
you still have those as well?
I think I might still have some.
Your faves.
Yeah, well, I think what happened was, like any other media that kind of goes by the wayside, you start dwindling it down the less you need it. And so I think I have like one tape case that has some tapes in it. And it's the same thing for CDs. Like, you know, for a long time when I was doing art, like covers and artwork for, you know, in the death metal scene, it was like sometimes like the labels would just send me their entire catalog. So I had thousands of CDs. And then like now I have one case with like, you know, a few that I don't need, that I keep just because, you know, it's like I'm like a super huge Slayer fan. So I don't ever listen to my Slayer CDs, but I have them just, you know, because I couldn't bear to throw them away. Which is the weird thing about streaming, you know, like everything's there, and it just sucks that it hasn't been sorted out how the artists can benefit from that the way that listeners do. But hey, listen, I am also on Spotify, and I get paid the same amount as y'all do for my show. So I understand the pain of it.
The pain.
Although I can put ads in my show, and so I can get paid. I can probably make more than you guys.
Maybe that's the way forward. We'll start throwing ads between the tracks on albums.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened with movies and TV. Everything's a commercial. Everything.
I know.
I
have got to say that's something really bad about American TV is the amount of adverts. Ours isn't perfect, but we've got the BBC, which don't have any adverts, so that's cool. But our adverts tend to be like I'd say like 20 minutes or half an hour. So you still only get a few ad breaks in a film, whereas from what I've seen on the telly in the US, it's not that lucky.
Every 12 and a half minutes.
Yeah, it's too much. You can't enjoy anything.
I know, it sucks. I kind of gave up on regular TV, I don't know, like 15 years ago. And I kind of only watch like cable shows. So I get no commercials. So that's nice. But I realized that I think I saw somebody put on YouTube an episode of The Big Bang Theory without the laugh track in it. And you couldn't tell you couldn't tell where it was supposed to be funny. Literally, I was like, this is
awkward.
Yeah, it's weird. I was really into that show when it came out, and then I watched it again recently, and I was like, I'm not sure if all these jokes are funny or like appropriate even.
Yeah.
Seeing it with new eyes.
Well, that's one of the weird things also about kind of just in general, like some movies like that we grew up on that you couldn't make. You couldn't make them now. You know what I mean?
My boyfriend put on a Road Trip the other day, and it was just awful.
I watched that the other day. Dreadful.
I think it must have just got on Netflix, and he's like, "Oh, it's so funny. Let's put it on." And I was like,
"Yeah, but it's stuff like that." And
no, what's happening? What's this storyline?
I saw an article recently where younger people who are 16 or 17 are shown these dude movies for the first time, like Dude, Where's My Car? And they're just appalled, you know, because they're more like, you know, and they see these films and like, these men are predators.
The whole story of Road Trip is basically this guy is really jealous of his girlfriend. So he's like convinced himself that she's slept with someone else, which she hasn't. So he sleeps with someone else. And then to stop her finding out, he goes drives all the way across the country to intercept a VHS tape of him having sex with this girl. And I was like, that's awful. There's nothing right about that. He's just like, I've got to stop it before she finds out.
Yeah. Then she broke up with him.
I'll be honest, Kyoko, I didn't get to the end.
I did.
I'm all the movies that I grew up on in the 80s, like you watch that movie 16 Candles. You could never make that movie now. It's like half of it's about date rape. Like as a comic as a comedy thing. And it's like, because I'm a creative person and I value creativity. I understand. I can appreciate that those things exist, and also appreciate that we don't need to make things like that anymore.
Yeah.
Because at the very minimum, it's like a kind of a time capsule of a different time.
That's what I felt actually after I
watched James Bond movies from the 60s, and it's.
I really, and everyone hates me for this, but I can't stand James Bond films. I just get angry watching them. But that is what I felt after I'd stopped watching Road Trip, not finished, stopped watching Road Trip. Is that glad that we've moved on as a society, and that isn't acceptable anymore, and those jokes aren't funny anymore. And it made me feel like, well, at least we've made some progress in the past. I don't know, is it 20 years old, something like that? We've made some progress. We've moved on from that.
Yeah, it's I think you kind of have to, it's like, I was talking to somebody recently, and it was like these people who are like, well, when I was growing up, we didn't have to wear a helmet to ride our bike. And it's like, I don't know, but are you proud of traumatic head injury in your generation? Like, how is that? Like, I know it's supposed to be some kind of metaphor.
Helmets, haven't we?
It's supposed to be some kind of metaphor for like, how safe society's been made for everybody. But is that bad? I don't know if it's bad to make the world safer for more people. I don't think it is, but
no, it can only be good.
Unless you're a white American male, and then you can just sit on YouTube and complain about it from the front seat of your truck. It's like a thing here. It's weird, but we won't go too far down the political road. I'm going to let you guys go. It's, nighttime over there. And I super appreciate you guys coming on. It's been super rad to sit and, get to know you guys on a personal level and share your band with my audience who may or may not know about you guys. And I'm looking forward to when you come to the States and you're in LA, because I'll make sure we come and see you guys for sure.
Yeah, come
for sure. We'll have to hit you up for a merch design as well.
Yeah,
I would
so much
love
about
that. I would love it.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll definitely email you guys about that. And then I think me and you, Lois, are connected on Twitter maybe. And I think I sent you a friend request on Facebook, but I don't know. It would have been a little
really
while
bad
ago.
with my friend. I'm really bad with my friend requests. I'll go through them. I'm honestly terrible.
Totally not necessary. No, I'm not offended at all. I'm never offended by anything. It's like impossible to offend me. I understand people have lives and other things to do with them. It have nothing to do with me. But again, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And, I'll talk to you guys again soon, I hope.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry we lost Faith there a couple times.
Oh, no.
And bye from Faith.
Yeah, bye from Faith.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.